Starting at number 10, we have the jinns. According to Islamic theology, jinn are invisible entities who roamed the earth before Adam, the first human being, was created. Now, they were created by God out of a mixture of fire or smokeless fire. There are many types of jinn, including those that can shapeshift, those that can fly, as well as ones that can resemble animals. And now it's been said that the jinn can see us, but we can't see them. And sometimes your pets can see them, so they start acting really strange, and they'd be staring at something, and you're like, what are you looking at? Having no idea that they can see a jinn. Now, what makes this even scarier is that sometimes jinn, depending on how they feel that day, can call out to you, and they can sound like one of your relatives or close friends. Then there's the recording angels. Karaman Ketibin, or the recording angels, are also another pretty scary thing in Islamic belief. Not that the beings themselves are scary, but what they do can sometimes leave a person terrified depending on what they actually do. So let me explain. So there's two types of recording angels, and they record everything that a person does. Like, I mean everything, and not just like an overview summary of what they did or said, but really a detailed, in-depth report. It's the ultimate biography. So if you think about it, you just look back into your life at all the bad stuff that you've done, whatever it may be, that Karaman Ketibin angels, yeah, they recorded it even though you thought no one saw you or thought no one heard you. And that's what makes this earn a spot on this list. Number 8, we have Dajjal. Now, Dajjal is known as the false messiah, so similar to Christian theology, and also known as like a liar or a deceiver. And in the Muslim world, believers say that he will create a lot of destruction by lies and having supernatural powers. Other religions know this as the Antichrist, who will deceive the entire world. Now, not just the fact that Dajjal is believed to be a master deceiver is what makes him creepy, but even the description of him and his appearance can give you nightmares. Like, Dajjal will be blind in one eye. In Islamic tradition, the Prophet Muhammad referred to Dajjal as Al-Awar, which means blind with one eye. Now, the Prophet Muhammad said that Dajjal's right eye would look like a floating grape, and its left eye will be defective in some way. Now, certain Islamic traditions, however, depict Dajjal having one eye, and the biggest fitna, or the testing period, in the history of humanity is associated with Dajjal. Yeah, that's pretty creepy. Next up, we have the Munkar and Nakir. Munkar and Nakir in Islamic belief are two angels who test the faith of people who pass away in their graves. According to Al-As-Sunnah, Munkar and Nakir ask a person who dies who is their Lord and what religion they follow and who is the Prophet. And a believer would answer these questions, but an unbeliever cannot answer them. Now, those who are deemed righteous will say, of course, Allah or God, and mention the Prophet Muhammad is a messenger, and they'll be allowed to rest in peace until the final day of judgment. But those who don't answer or answer differently, or who don't truly believe, will continue being punished, like while they're passed away, waiting for the final judgment. Now, it's like that pre-punishment phase. You know, like when you do something really bad and your parents say to you, you know, wait till I get home to deal with you. And you know, that time that you're waiting for your mom or dad to get home to deliver whatever punishment they're going to be delivering, you know, sometimes that period is more punishment than the actual punishment. Now, it may not be that way in this scenario, but the idea that loved ones may not be actually resting in peace can be a pretty scary thought. Next up at number 6, we have the smoke. Okay, so among the major signs mentioned by the Prophet Muhammad is the smoke. And Muslims believe that God refers to this event in the Quran saying this: "Then wait you for the day when the sky will bring forth a visible smoke covering the people. This will be a painful torment." And that's in the Quran, Surah 44, verses 10 to 11. There's also a hadith where the Prophet Muhammad said, "Verily, your Lord has warned you concerning 3 matters. The smoke that overtakes the believer like a cold and overtakes the disbeliever and makes him swollen until it comes out of his ears." So just imagine for a moment, it's all pitch black, you can't see anything, and you're coughing, you're not able to breathe properly, and your body starts swelling up, and you're in so much pain, and you can't make it stop. Very creepy. Halfway to number 5, we have earthquakes. So we all know the effects that an earthquake can have, and what makes them so destructive is that no matter what structure you've built on land, it's no match for an earthquake. It definitely will collapse. Not to mention that earthquakes in large bodies of water are known to cause tsunamis. Now in the Hadith Bukhari volume 9 book 88 it says, "The hour will not be established till earthquakes will increase in number." So when you take a look at the stats, between the 11th century to the 18th century there have been 64 earthquakes, right? And in the 19th century there have been 47 earthquakes, and in the 20th century there have been approximately 319 earthquakes, and then in the 21st century there has been approximately 380 earthquakes. So earthquakes definitely vary in magnitude, and not all of them are deadly. However, Muslims believe that we are living in the end time signs right now, since the increase of earthquakes is believed to be a major sign of the end in Islam. Yet no one is certain how much more the frequency of earthquakes will increase, or even how much their severity will increase. Okay, moving on down to number 4, we have the angels of death. So let's get into this one. Naziat and Nashitat are two classes of death angels that are subordinate to Azrael, who is the archangel of death. Now these angels are responsible for taking the souls of those who pass away. Naziats are ordered to take the lives of unbelievers by force, and the Nashitats take their life away gently. So the question always is are you gonna go swift and painless, or is it gonna be slow and painful? That's a creepy thought. Number 3 brings us to Iblis. Now Iblis in Islam is the name of the devil, which is a counterpart to the Jewish and Christian Satan. Now he's a demonic creature, and he runs wild on humanity to spread evil and misery, and in some cases the name Shaitan is used to refer to Iblis specifically. Now at the time of creation, God ordered the angels to bow down in obedience before Adam, and Iblis refused, saying that he was better because he was created from fire and Adam was created out of clay. So because he acted so prideful and disobeyed God's commandments, God threw Iblis out of heaven, and his punishment was postponed until the day of judgment. And Iblis, who became the ruler of the jinn and also became a jinn himself, he tempts people to do evil. And according to some Islamic beliefs, apparently only animals like donkeys can see Iblis, and Iblis sometimes appear as a human form to carry out certain tasks like recruiting other followers. So yeah, you may run into someone on the street and could be the devil. Number 2 is jinn possession. So I spoke about jinn before, right, in this episode. Now it's one thing to see a jinn and to hear one, but it's another thing to be under the control of one. Now not all jinn are evil according to popular Islamic belief. However, the scariest thing about the jinn who are evil is that they can actually possess human beings. Oftentimes people who are possessed by jinns may not necessarily be in a whole lot of pain or look like how people look in the movies. However, individuals may get super angry or feel like they're forced to act in a certain way without being able to stop themselves. So exorcisms gotta happen. You gotta go through that whole process, and some possessions definitely are very violent, where people's eye colors change and other physical changes happen in their body. Definitely creepy. And the final scariest thing in the religion of Islam is hell, or Jahannam, is the ultimate punishment for non-believers. After the disbeliever is no longer under the punishment of Munkar and Nakir, their punishment will then continue in hell. But this time they'll be alive and fully able to experience their punishment. Hell is described as being extremely boiling hot, and the suffering will continue for disbelievers as long as God sees fit. And it's said that despite the intense physical pain experienced in hell, the worst of all the torments is people's separation from God. It's starting at number 10. There's going to be a period of 3 years of drought and famine. The hadith of Hadrat Asma, who is the daughter of Yazid, he narrates the following. The messenger of Allah once came to my house, and there he spoke about Dajjal. He said that before the emergence of Dajjal, there will be 3 spells of drought. In 1 year, the skies will withhold 1/3 of its rains, causing the earth to withhold 1/3 of its produce. In the 2nd year, the skies will withhold 2/3 of its rain, causing the earth to withhold 2/3 of its produce. In the 3rd year, the skies will withhold all its rain, and there will be no crops that year. All animals, be they hooved or toothed, will pass away as a result. No animals, nothing. What? That is pretty scary. Now at number 9, we have Dajjal will do the opposite. So let me break it down for you. Dajjal will talk about the fire, or Jahannam, known as hell, and make it seem like it is the garden, or Jannah, which is known as heaven. And he's going to proclaim justice, but he's going to pursue injustice. He's also going to proclaim peace, but he's going to pursue the complete opposite of peace. Pretty much everything that he proclaims, he is going to do the opposite. But it's said that a lot of people are going to be deceived by these blatant lies. Now let's talk a little bit about the appearance of the Dajjal, like what's Dajjal going to look like. It's believed that Dajjal is going to be blind in one eye. People have always been curious about the appearance of Dajjal, even during the time of the Prophet Muhammad. A lot of people wanted, just some more descriptions of what he's gonna look like, what's his appearance gonna be like. So the Prophet Muhammad, he gave some detailed descriptions. And in one of the hadith, it records that the Prophet Muhammad said that Dajjal would be blind in one eye, and he called him Al-Anwar, which means one with a blind eye. He also said that Dajjal's right eye would look like a floating grape. So it's going to be shaking, it's not too firm, it's not going to be in a fixed position or anything. Number 7 brings us another physical description of Dajjal, and that's about Dajjal's hair. It's cited in Sahih al-Bukhari, number 3439, page 344, as well as in Majah 4071, which are both collections of Islamic traditions known as hadith. And according to those, the Prophet Muhammad said that Dajjal's appearance when it comes to his hair is going to be very curly, as well as he's going to have a whole lot of hair. It's even reported that it'll be so thick that it almost looks like there's snakes coming out of his head. Kind of reminds me of Medusa from Greek mythology. I'm not gonna lie, when I was researching this fact, but she had like literal snakes in her hair though, and anybody that looked at them would turn to stone. I don't think Dajjal has that ability though, according to Islam. Either way though, it sounds like the sky is gonna look pretty scary. Next up, let's talk about fire and water. It's believed that Dajjal will have something to do with fire and water. It's a little bit ambiguous, not 100% clear, but according to Sahih al-Bukhari number 7130, it's mentioned that whatever seems like water will actually be fire, and in the same way, whatever seems like fire will be water. The scary belief at number 5 is Dajjal bringing animals back to life. It's also mentioned that when people asked about Dajjal, this is what was said to them. Dajjal's gonna say this: if I bring your camel back to life, will you then believe that I'm your Lord? Then the person will say, yes, of course, but the shaitan, also known as jinn, will appear before the person in the form of his camel, for example. So it's going to look like the animal was brought back to life, and they already admitted that, hey, if this person does this, they're going to say that, oh my God, you are my Lord. And that's how Dajjal is going to gain a lot of followers. Number 4, though, this is also very similar, bringing people back from the dead. And this is one of the scariest things about Dajjal, is that he's going to apparently have the power to bring people back to life. According to the hadith Sahih al-Bukhari number 1882, Dajjal will have enough power to end someone's life and then also make that person come back to life. But not exactly though. More accurately, Muslims believe that Dajjal will apparently end somebody's life and then also apparently bring them back to life. What actually is going to happen is that there will be evil jinn that work under the power of Dajjal that take the form of people who have passed away, and then they're going to come back to life, and a lot of people are going to be deceived because of this. There's also the belief of the multiple aspects of Dajjal, and this is according to many Muslim scholars. There's actually not one aspect of Dajjal, not even 2, but there's a total of 3 different aspects of Dajjal. The first aspect is the individual Dajjal, which we've been talking about in this episode. Then there's also going to be Dajjal as a worldwide social and cultural aspect. Then the third part is going to be Dajjal as an unseen force. Now, according to scholars, the second and third aspect of Dajjal will be established before the Dajjal individual is going to come on the scene. So it's believed that Dajjal is going to come on the scene when the system that is going to support him is in place all around the world. According to the Hadith Sahih Muslim 809a, that whoever knows the first 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf will be protected from Dajjal. The belief at number 2 is that there's going to be the greatest testing period in all of humanity. This is known as the biggest fitna in all of history, is linked to the appearance of Dajjal. So this is going to be a time where people are going to go through a lot of testing their faith. They're going to experience a lot of pain, a lot of sadness, a lot of temptation that are going to shake the very core of their being. But like I mentioned in number 3, those who know Surah Al-Kahf, which is the 18th surah of the Quran, they got nothing to worry about. And the final belief about Dajjal that is pretty scary is Jabir ibn Abdullah, who is a companion of the Prophet Muhammad. He said these words. The Prophet Muhammad said, "The Dajjal will appear at the end of time when religion is taken lightly. He will have 40 spiritual days," which according to scholars is 1.25 years in actuality, "in which to travel throughout the earth. One of these days will be like a year, another will be like a month, and a third will be like a week, and the rest will be like normal days. He will be riding a donkey," which scholars interpret to be some sort of jet or another mode of transportation, because it's said that the width between the ears will be 40 cubits. So this is understood to be the distance measured between the wings. Also, Dajjal is described in the Hadith as having many eyes on both sides and being able to travel the world very, very, very quickly. This is why it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to actually be on a literal donkey. Donkey just probably refers to a mode of transportation, because you can't travel that fast on a donkey. And finally, Dajjal can be heard all around the world at the very same time. Starting at number 10, did you know that there's a belief that there are several types of jinn, not just jinn as a blanket term. No, there are different types of jinn, like some that can fly, others that can shapeshift. Although it is believed by Muslims that those that can shapeshift in human form cannot appear as the Prophet Muhammad. And over in the Hadith, it supports this belief. There's a passage that says there are 3 types of jinn. One type that fly about through the air all the time, another type that appear as snakes and dogs, and an earthbound type which resides in one place or wanders about. Also, there is a belief that jinns are assigned to humans. It's believed that every single human being has a jinn assigned to them, specifically a kind of jinn called a qareen, or jinn comrade, and this type of jinn will encourage people to actually do evil. Having lived with a human being since the time of birth, these jinn are said to know absolutely everything about a particular person, and that means that anyone that's able to communicate with the jinn, like a psychic for example, could actually gain access to secrets about people, and that person may be like, "How did you know?" That psychic may have been talking to a jinn. Now, there's a passage in the Hadith that says, "Every one of you has been assigned a companion from the jinn." There are all sorts of beliefs about that. I'm not going to get into that right now because we have so much more to go through. We're talking about the belief that jinn have free will. So, in Islam, angels were created to obey Allah completely. They don't have free will to disobey Him. Unlike the jinn, Muslims believe that Allah gave the jinn free will to obey or disobey Him like human beings. So whoever of the jinn decides to believe in Allah, or who desires to disbelieve in Allah and do evil things, they can do so. And the majority of jinn are said to be unbelievers. In fact, the number of unbelievers that are of the jinn outnumber the unbelievers among humans. Jinn are also similar to human beings. They are believed to resemble humans in the sense that they eat and drink just like us, as well as they have children and they grow old and die. And also, they're going to be subject to the judgment of God. So they will either be sent to heaven or hell according to their deeds and according to the mercy of Allah. Jinn can also get really annoyed and upset though if you secretly disturb them or hurt one of their loved ones, even if you're completely unaware that you did so. The next scary belief we're looking at is jinn possession, and this is probably one of the scariest beliefs associated with jinn. Yeah, jinns are believed to be able to possess human beings. There are numerous reasons as to why a jinn would even possess somebody in the first place, from just being straight up bored and wanting something to do, to being some sort of punishment for someone's own carelessness in committing evil deeds. But oftentimes though, people who are possessed by jinn may not appear in the pain and the torment like we see in the feature films or even on TV shows. However, individuals simply that may just get straight up angry or completely moody or feel like they're forced to do certain things without being able to stop. Alright, so at number 5, this belief is that jinns live in different places. And let me break it down. Jinn apparently they thrive in places like deserts, as well as, you know, certain districts like the mountainous Chitral district in Pakistan. And also it's believed that they live in and around a sinkhole in the wastelands outside of Kardo, Somalia. Other places that jinn like to live in are caves and crossroads, as well as garbage dumps, and also large bodies of water. And it's believed that the jinn also live in the upper atmosphere, those that can fly. Graveyards are another place that jinn live, and they can even be found in bathrooms. The belief at number 4 involves the Hatif. Now the Hatif is a type of jinn, and it's just really a disembodied voice, and there's no physical form to this type of jinn. The Hatif is a jinn who they imitate human voices, so if it sounds like you're speaking to someone and you hear them answer back, it may not necessarily be that person responding to you. It could just be the jinn imitating their voice. Jinns are known to be pranksters and play tricks on people like this, so it isn't uncommon to find stories like this in Islamic circles. Let's talk about the creation of the jinn next. Jinn were created from smokeless fire. Yeah, that is very interesting, and it's a lot different than the earth that human beings are made from, and even the light that angels are made from, according to Islam. Now in the Quran, it does support this belief, and it says that, and the jinn we had created before from smokeless, scorching fire, penetrating through the skin. That's found specifically in Surah 15 verses 27. Number 2 brings us the belief in the devil. Now, Iblis in Islam is the personal name of the devil, and he's believed to also be a jinn. At the time of creating human beings, God had ordered all the angels to bow down before Adam, but Iblis refused, and he said that no, he was better, he was created from fire, but humans were made from dirt and clay. So for disobeying this direct command from God, God threw Iblis out of heaven. At one point he was allowed to dwell in the heavens, but his punishment was postponed until Judgment Day. Now over in Surah 18 verses 50 in the Quran, it says, and remember when we said to the angels, prostrate to Adam, so they prostrated except Iblis. He was one of the jinns. He disobeyed the command of his Lord. But what's also scary about this is that since Iblis looks to cause destruction and lead people to do evil things in the world, he can sometimes appear in human form to recruit people to work on his side. The final scary belief about jinn that I'm going to share in this episode involves the Jann. Now the Jann are a type of jinn that are shapeshifters as well, but these ones, they live in the desert, and they often take the forms of whirlwinds, as well as it's said that they even take on the form of white camels. They have the power to hide or reveal bodies of water in the desert, and this all just depends on whether they like you or not. Throughout history though, it is said that the Jann have protected certain armies that they deem to be holy and righteous, and they actually like them, while others, they just completely stop them because they feel like, hey, you're not good people, so we're gonna interfere with what you're trying to do. So you see, it's surprising that their influence could literally have affected the course of history according to this belief. Starting with the belief at number 10, they exist. Yes, jinn are actual beings, but the jinn are created with free will, and they live here on Earth in a world parallel to ours. Now, the root of the Arabic word for jinn means to hide or conceal, so they are physical creatures, but they're invisible to human eyes. Them being invisible to us is one of the reasons why so much mystery surrounds their existence. At number 9, we have the belief that they are made of fire. Stories of encounters with jinn often include individuals smelling something burning or burning sulfur, which can produce a very unpleasant odor. This may be due to the belief that in Islam, jinn are actually made of fire. And you find reference to this in Surah 15 verses 26 to 27 in the Quran, and it goes as follows. Indeed, we created man from dried clay of black smooth mud, and we created the jinn before that from the smokeless flame of fire. And because they were created from fire, it is believed that their nature generally is very fiery also. The scary belief at number 8 is that there are more evil jinn than good jinn. Jinns can be Muslim or non-Muslims according to Islam. However, due to their fiery nature, the majority of them are non-Muslims. And all these non-Muslim jinn form a part of the army of the most famous jinn, Iblis, or the devil or Satan. These unbelieving jinn are also called shaitans or devils. As for the jinns who become Muslims, well, the first of them did so during the time of the Prophet Muhammad, when there was a group of jinn that were completely fascinated by the recitation of the Quran. And actually, you can find that account in Surah 72 verses 1 to 2 in the Quran. But despite this though, the evil jinn, they far outnumber the good ones. Also, jinn follow you. Every single human being is assigned a type of jinn called Qareen or jinn comrade, and this jinn encourages people to do evil things. So having lived with their human since the time of their birth, they know everything about you. Now there's a reference to this found in one of the Islamic hadith, and it says this: every one of you has been assigned a companion from the jinn. Now, yes, there's a belief that the jinn live here on Earth. However, your chances of encountering a jinn in a clean or bright environment, well, that's very rare. This is because the living spaces that they prefer are abandoned places and dark and unclean places like sewers, caves, garbage dumps, or bathrooms and toilets. So you'll hear a lot more jinn encounters and stories about jinn involving places like that. Now, another scary thing about the jinn is that they can deceive through visions. This is one of the biggest manipulations of the jinn. Through these visions, the jinn are more likely to lead people to do evil than any other way. When a person sees a vision in front of their eyes, it's something that is very hard to just explain away. So visions of people's parents or relatives or even other holy figures like Jesus are very common. And because the visions can be so vivid and supernatural, it's unbelievable sometimes, jinn becomes very easy for the jinn. But there's actually one person that the jinn cannot appear as in a dream or in a vision or otherwise, and we find a hadith that has these words of the Prophet Muhammad: whoever sees me in a dream, then it is me, for the devils cannot appear like me. Number 4, the jinn appear in different forms. There are many different types of jinn that exist. Some of them can fly, some of them can travel faster than others can shapeshift into animals, or even appear physically as other people. Now, it is unclear though whether or not all the jinn have these specific abilities, but this suggests that many people, even you and me maybe, have encountered a jinn face to face and never even knew it. Yeah. Pretty creepy. Jinn can also require the soul of a human being. Through their powers like flying and concealing themselves, the jinn are heavily used in occult practices. So practices like voodoo, black magic, and witchcraft all work through the world of the jinn, and this is according to Islamic theology. But see, this comes at a cost, because in return for helping them in their magic, the jinns often ask the practitioners to sell their souls to them. And this can lead to the next scary thing: jinn possession. Jinns can possess and completely take over a human being. Oftentimes though, people who are possessed by jinns may not necessarily show any outward signs of possession. Now, possession by jinn can happen for various reasons. A jinn could sometimes haunt an individual because a person could, even unintentionally, actually harm the jinn. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. They could have also urinated or thrown hot water on the jinn, or even killed a related jinn without realizing it by stepping on them or dropping a large object on them. So in cases like these, the jinn may try to get revenge on a person. And this is why in Islam it's highly advised that regardless of where you go, but specifically in places that the jinn like to dwell in, you need to ask for the protection of God, because you might harm one unintentionally and they may seek revenge on you. Intimate relations is number one. Having intimate relations is perhaps the closest form of union between two people. And in Islam, humans are not permitted to have these relations with jinn and vice versa. However, the jinn, sometimes described as a succubus or an incubus, they take on either female or male form and appear in dreams to seduce people, typically through intimate activity. And now they have been also known to cause sleep paralysis and also induce wet dreams. Repeated activities like this with the jinn can lead to poor health, and sometimes one can pass away because of this. And when you sleep, you're in a very, very vulnerable state. So again, Muslims always advise that you seek the protection of God while you sleep.